Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. Today, I got some returning guests with us. Listen, always a fun time. First, let me shoot over to director, producer, co-writer. I have with us Todd E. Braley. Todd, welcome to the Horror Room.
Hey, thanks for having us back. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
And listen, a huge supporter of the channel, good friend. Listen, he's with My Indie Productions. I have with us Itai Guberman. Itai, welcome back to the Horror Room.
Hey, good to be back. I'm not even sure how many times I've been on here already.
I think it's your third or fourth time.
I
know Todd's been on twice.
Counting.
Yes, this is my second, I think, maybe third.
That was third because
I was going to say third. Yeah, yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah, I like this show. This is one of my favorite shows to be on and watch. So
thank you.
Always good fun.
Yeah. Very much.
So, guys, listen, what's going on with Shadows of the Night? And you guys had the crowdfunding's up. We were talking a little bit about, the shooting and the props you've gotten. Where are we at right now with Shadows of the Night?
Well, I'll start. So we wrapped production back in August 20th.
Late August, yep.
Yeah, late August, and it was a good shoot, but it was brutal just because of the night shoots and stuff that we had, and then the heat didn't help because it's August, and then the weather went weird on us. The weather, I'll just say this real quick. It was hot as hell one day, and in Colorado when it gets hot, somebody will laugh and go, "Oh, that ain't hot." But for Colorado, 103, 104, that's hot for this area, especially because you're at a higher elevation. And then the next day it was 65 degrees and pissing down rain. So much so that we had to incorporate the rain into the shoot because it rained for the better part of almost 2 hours. And when I say it was pissing, I mean, it was like
bucketing. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just coming down. I mean, it started off kind of slow. And so we got the camera set up and we set it up under a tree and everything. And it was a short dolly shot, and then all of a sudden, by the time we got to shoot, we got everything set, and then it just started coming down. So then we had to cover up the camera. We had to make an excuse for the actors because they were already wet. Yeah. Because it's one thing if it's sprinkling; it's another thing when it's like somebody took a bucket and just dumped it over the top of us. And so yeah. That was we had a couple of days like that, but all in all, everything went good. And then I just kind of disappeared for a little bit. When I get done with the project, I just want to. I don't want to talk about it. I mean, you're talking 2 years of our existence that we've put into this, with the on again, off again thing, the problems that we were having, and with casting and money and everything. So when it was over, I didn't even want to talk about it. Some people are like, "Oh, I want to dive right in and start editing and everything," and I was like, "I don't want to fucking see." We looked through all of the footage after we wrapped. We made a trailer, and then everybody went home, and I went to bed because I hadn't slept in a month. So, so yeah, I disappeared, and and some people, and I know some people will say, well, but what about getting on it and while everything is still fresh? And that's probably for me the worst time to try and do something is when it's fresh. So I just needed to walk away from it. I took about 3 weeks, didn't do anything with it, and plus on top of that, I mean, I have a business, so I also put off a lot of my clients for almost 2 months, so I had to catch up on that. So, but as of this date, I'm not sure when this is going to pop up online, but it's the 22nd of October, and tomorrow, the 23rd, I am going to start editing.
Nice.
So
Well, it's already the 23rd here in Australia, so you better start now, man.
yeah, right. I'll get right on that.
But Todd, as a filmmaker, so when you have this outdoor shot and, like you say, it starts pissing and raining, what goes through your mind? Are you like freaking the fuck out at that point?
No, I just looked at a tie, and he goes. I just said we need a line in here, and so I don't remember if you came up with I think you came up with the line and just told Kazuo, who was playing the priest. He says, when you get up to the door, say this, which was something to the effect of, I walked her home, and
Because the weather changed. Yeah.
Yeah, we just mentioned the weather change, because when they left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, when they left, and when they left the church, it wasn't really sunny. But,
yeah, it was pretty sunny.
But and then all we're going to do is just add a thunder sound effect as they're running off screen, and then cut to, or even dissolve. If we do a dissolve in there, then everybody will understand that this was coming. So yeah, it was, I mean, that kind of stuff you don't freak out about, basically because it happened, and it's like, okay, what is freaking out going to do? I mean, yeah, okay, sometimes there's things that will upset you or piss you off, but I've been on those sets in the past, and it doesn't really do a whole lot of good. All it does is waste time.
Yeah.
So, and I've had a couple of problems like that myself, and I probably shouldn't have gotten upset, not on this film, but on another one. And but it all kind of depends what the issue is. But on the whole, you don't want to freak out. You want to maintain, and you want to go ahead and think about, okay, how do we fix this? We could have waited around for the rain, but we didn't have the time. So it's like, just fucking incorporate it into the story and call it good.
Now, is that mentality something that separates filmmakers from people who make films?
Yes.
Most likely, people who make films can be decent problem solvers. So who knows? But I don't know if this is what separates them, but it could be.
Now, Itai, you were working close with Todd.
Too close.
Too close.
Yeah, way too close. Sometimes I had to blow back up.
Yeah, dude, personal space, man. Personal space. I'm trying to see the monitor. Get your bald head out of the way. That kind of thing.
Now, this is a question for the both of you. Was it nice to have each other that close to bounce ideas off of?
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, well, and here's something else that was nice is one of the nights we were shooting, I was already running on gas. My gas tank was on its way to being empty. And so I made the mistake of having a 5-hour energy drink. Then I had 2 rock stars.
Ooh, we're trying to have a heart attack?
Almost.
Oh,
Pretty close. I mean, I had to step out. I had to literally hand over, because Itai walked up to me and I was just sweating. I mean, I was just, and Itai walks up to me
he looked like me, as pale
right
as
now.
I am.
wow.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and Itai looks at me and he says, are you okay? It's like the color is just like drained out of your face. And I'm like, I'm sweating profusely. And I was actually kind of having a little hard time breathing. It was probably a mixture of things. And then being in this basement that we were shooting in of this old building, and having the smoke machines running all the time. That's another story we'll tell you about. And then the lack of sleep, and okay, boys and girls, don't drink your weight in energy drinks. They are bad for you. They will kill you.
Especially 2 nights in a row.
Yeah. And so yeah, I had to literally, I didn't say anything to anybody. I just walked up to Itai and I just said, and our first AD and unit production manager, Jacob, and just said, I am going outside, and Itai, you need to run the show because I'm literally about to pass out. And I almost did. And so I went out to the car and I turned the air conditioner on and the heat on top of that. So, when you got 15 bodies in a small enclosed space, it was, it was a lot. So I went out and just lay down, turn my van on and turn the air conditioning on and fell asleep for like a half an hour. And it took a couple hours, took almost 3 hours actually before I was back to, 60%.
By the time Todd came back, we finished shooting the whole film. So,
Yeah, that's it.
By the way, the kids at home, stay away from energy drinks, because energy drinks literally landed me in the hospital in the ER
Really?
a month ago, because
Wow.
as Itai knows, I don't sleep. So I mean, Itai, he'll message me at 3 a.m. my time, and I'm boop, 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 right around back, because I work as a mortician, so I'm on call 24/7. People die any time of night, so I'm always get very little sleep. So I used to live off those energy drinks, and I'm telling you, they will put you into the hospital quickly.
Well, and that was the thing, and I hadn't had one in a very, very long time. I mean, like very long is in like a couple of years. I try to stay away from them because I had some heart problem. Now I'm not going to say heart problems, but it was definitely something that I was starting to notice, that I was having what could seem like panic attacks, but I know what a panic attack is, and that was not exactly it, but it was something that my heart would just, and so I just stopped drinking them altogether. And there was somebody in our family quite a few years ago that used to drink Red Bulls stupid amount of Red Bulls, between 5 and 10 a day.
Oh shit! Whoa.
And he died of congestive heart failure at 42 years old.
Whoa!
So yeah, it's rough to. So yeah, just as you said, just don't fucking do it. Stay away from them. They're bad.
I think I had a Red Bull in the early 2000s. That's the last time I had an energy drink.
So it sounds like to be a filmmaker, it sounds like you almost have to be a little bit of a stress junkie.
Not really a junkie. not really a junkie, but I think you do need to be able to perform under stress, and basically come up with solutions when you don't expect them and all of that. So it is a roller coaster ride. It is stressful, but not so much a junkie. I think we prefer, the less stress, the better.
Yeah.
Which is why this set worked so well, because it's not just that being a director is a lonely job kind of thing on set, because there's a lot on your shoulders. You call the shots, and it's a lot of pressure. So having me under Todd was great, but also having Jacob next was amazing, because Jacob was fantastic. Whenever I needed anything, he just took all that stress away. Even when Todd was unwell, I activated Jacob and got him to check up on him, to get him water, to report to me and let me know how he's doing, all that kind of thing. And that just made everything so much easier. So having the right people kind of takes the stress away. That really helps.
Because I mean, like long days or long nights, and just the pressure. I mean, trying to raise funds, you have a budget you got to stay in. Plus, the time restraints. I mean, it sounds like a lot, and I don't think most people getting into I didn't know this before. I started interviewing indie filmmakers, but it's a lot making a film.
It's a lot. It's a small miracle that any feature films get made. So, every time one gets made, it's like, wow.
Well, and the thing is too, I mean, one thing that I kind of learned, and I may or may not have brought this up one of the other times I was on here, but growing up for me, I mean, I'm 60 years old, or going to be 60 in February of next year. And, there were a lot of times that back in the, early 90s, you had people making movies and they'd shoot them, but then that was it. I mean, you've got actors out there that still don't have footage from those projects that they did. And when I dug in and really decided that I was going to do this, I wanted to make sure that I was not going to be one of those guys that never finished a movie. Now, in saying that, I have one movie that I did that I spent about $5,000 of my own money on that never will see the light of day because the footage, I didn't store it correctly. It was shot on videotape. I didn't store it correctly while I was trying to find some place to edit the movie. And when I finally got a place that I could edit, somebody that was willing to give up the editing space for me without having to pay for it, I put one of those tapes in the tape deck and it disintegrated.
Jeez.
And that was 2.5 weeks of really, really hard work that nobody will ever see because I didn't know enough that at that time on how to take care of how to properly store your raw footage. And that was heartbreaking, to say the least. I mean, I got lucky that all of the actors were just like, they literally were like, it's all good, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So, I wasn't happy about it. That was $5,000.
Yeah. That must be tough.
Yeah. But after, especially once that happened, then I did a lot of homework. And that was also, I wound up working in Hollywood not long after that, which you really learn how to store footage. So yeah, but I just never wanted to be that guy that made a movie and then never did anything with it or never finished it or lost the footage or did whatever, outside of that one time. I always wanted to make sure that, that I got it done, that everybody that was in it got to see it and got footage for their reels. And because I just think anybody that does that shoots something and then doesn't do anything with it is just doing a disservice to not only themselves, but to all the people that busted their ass on it. So
why do people do it right now? I mean, why do people do that right now in the year 2024?
Depends. It depends, but I think every filmmaker, every indie filmmaker who makes features probably has one of those stories under their belt.
So what was one? So what was one learning experience that both Itai, you and Todd learned from this project? Because I'm assuming every project you do, you learn something to carry on to the next one. What was one thing that you both took away from this one?
There's a handful of things.
yeah. But I think a lot of things that we've learned from previous projects we actually put into practice here, and that's why things worked so well. This was probably the smoothest running project I've ever worked on as far as features. And I'm not sure if that's the same for Todd, but I think we were a lot better prepared than we may have been on any other project in the past.
Yeah, I was pretty. There were times that I didn't feel like I maybe that I prepped well enough for certain things, but walking into it, you have that thought, but then after you get in there and you get rolling, it's like, okay, well, I was going to change my mind on a handful of things anyway, so you just kind of you stop worrying about not being prepared. I mean, we were really, really prepared, but there was a couple of times that I walked into certain situations that I was like in the back of my head, and you're never going to say this out loud to anybody, but you walk in, you go, God, shit, I wish I would have thought about this a little bit more, or thought about this particular, how this shot was going to go a little bit more, and I think towards the end is when that happened. When we got to the point where we were at my house in my office space here and used that as one of the locations. And there was a handful of stuff when I got done that when I started looking at the footage, which is the reason we shot on Saturday, it was like, shit, I forgot to get that. We forgot to get that. I mean, that happens literally almost pretty much on almost every project. Hollywood, it happens to. They forget things, or maybe they shot something that they didn't like the way it looked, or there's all kinds of issues. But I just really the takeaway from this is I learned where, and this is something that I remember Rob Zombie saying when he did House of a Thousand Corpses. He said there was money that he spent that you never saw on things that he wanted you to see that you never saw. So there were things that we spent money on that I kind of feel like we could have spent it better, or spent it someplace else. But I mean, that's just, this is literally the largest budget I've ever dealt with.
And still not enough, huh?
And it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Still wasn't enough. So much so that, we raised in the ups of, what did we figure out? Between the two Indiegogos, we had what?
About 40 something all up, but 20 between the two campaigns, and and another 20 we raised from investors, roughly. And we're still trying to raise some more for post production. The Indiegogo is still going. It's in demand, and it's a post production campaign now, and we're trying to get a little more to finish it. It's always like that in indie, though. You can never plan anything to perfection because you don't have the money to be able to do that. So things happen, and you gotta roll with the punches on set. Sometimes you make decisions on the fly that later, when you're done, you go, "Oh, we should have probably done that differently." So now we're missing a little bit of footage. Now this, now that. There's always second guessing as well. That's just part of it. When you're working in indie, it's just part of the process. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't throw money at it because you don't have the money. So
yeah.
So it's like we couldn't dedicate a whole, week to shooting scenes in a certain location. So we had to do it over 2 days. And then you kind of go, oh, do we really need this? Do we really need that? And because your schedule is pressing, sometimes you forego certain scenes or small scenes. And then later on, when you go to editing, oh, we should have really shot that, but we didn't. We thought we didn't need it, but we do. That happens, but aside for that, for me on set, it was by far the smoothest running, feature I've ever been involved with. As far as the set, it was just amazing. It wasn't 100%. Nothing is ever 100%. It's not going to be perfect, but it was pretty close. I really enjoyed most of it. And now it's like going into post, we'll probably face new challenges. So. That's indie for you.
Yes. Now, do you guys have a potential release date?
Not an exact date.
Not a date, but right around. And this is going to be news to a tie because he and I haven't had a conversation. But with all the stuff that needs to be done and the sound and the trying to work with the composer and then getting this, because we need at least another $3,500 to $4,000 to get the color grading and all that done, and so probably mid-April, early May, around there, possibly. But
you're talking release, yeah?
Yeah.
Mid-year, let's say, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Mid 2025 would probably make sense.
But yeah, I mean, it's just because not only do you have to, I go through and I'll edit the film, and then I'll go back and edit the sound. So I don't even I use the audio from the camera to do my editing with, and then I go back and go through the whole movie from the beginning again. Once I get a cut that I like, then I'll go through and then I'll do the sound editing and do all of the, I'll do the dialogue stuff, and I'll do that first, and then I'll go back and I'll do the sound effects, and then sometimes like the sound effects you have to put in as you're editing just for a timing thing, but they're never permanent. You'll do it and you'll put it in just for a timing. Okay, is that going to work? With this cut from here to here, and is that gonna work? And then from that point, then you just take it back out or mute it on the timeline, and then from there, then you just go ahead and get that finished, and then I do temp music to show the composer what the vibe that I want for each area of the film. You know, at this point, I want what the music cues are, when it starts, when it stops. So there's, you know, audio takes longer than actually the visual editing. And as we're going along, then I also have to, I have my buddy Scott Stewart. He's going to help me with all the visual effects stuff. And luckily, because we've been friends since 1990, he won't, I offered him, you know, well, what's it going to cost to have you help me do this? And he says, you know, and Scott gave us a lot of money in the campaign as well. And so he's going to help me with all the visual effects for free. So, and that's, yeah, for the amount of work that we're going to have to do with some of the visual effects. I mean, it's not a lot of visual effects, but there's just enough that would probably anybody else, it would cost them about $10,000. And he's going to do it for us for free. So,
that's real.
Yeah.
Networking, that's why networking is so important in any business, to be honest. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, real quick, guys, I just want to hit on a topic I have to ask you. Because I love you guys' opinion and everything. With the success of Terrifier 3, you know, #1 in the box office here in the U.S., indie horror film, I've heard a lot more indie filmmakers saying, oh my goodness, if Amy Loney can do it, anyone can do it. Do you think the success of movies like The Blair Witch and Terrifier have given some new filmmakers false hope?
Filmmakers always have false hope. False hope is why people go into filmmaking. But, you know, it's like saying somebody won the lottery. You know, does that give other people false hope into, you know, buying tickets to a lottery? I personally don't see it that way, because I think every case is sort of, you know, specific to whatever happens there, to whatever connections they have in getting a film out. Terrifier by far is probably the most successful low indie film that has been released in the last however many years. It's not necessarily the best film that has been released in that time, though, you know, from indie. So it's got nothing to do with quality. It's just sometimes it's about luck, it's about other things. So it depends on why filmmakers are in the business anyway. You know, if you're in it just for success and just for fame and all of that, then you'll always have that false hope. Oh, they did it, that's what I want. You know, and they try to do the same. And they try to make the same films. And eventually it just comes off as a cheap copy, a cheap knockoff. But some films are interesting. There are films that I haven't even seen yet that I've heard about, like Skinamarink, is that what it's called, or something like that? Mm-hmm. Skinamarink, yeah. That had some decent success, and, you know, very low budget. I've heard mixed reviews, but it's interesting. At least it sounds different. I'm not sure if it is. I'll have to see it to know. But those two films are probably, as far as indie horror goes, you know, in the last however many years, they're the ones in recent times that have done something. There's about 1 million other indie horror films that get made that nobody hears about. And that's just how it is. Some of them are better than all, you know, those films. They're better than some Hollywood films. But so what? If you don't have the right, you know, distribution method, the funding to get it out there, or the connections, or whatever else, it's not going to be seen. It's not going to succeed. Also, with indie horror, I think fans get excited by things that have nothing to do with quality of filmmaking. You know, how many times have we heard, oh, this film has the best kills? Who gives a shit about kills? You know, kills that do not make a good film. It's like, yeah, okay, there's good kills, fantastic. Okay, it's entertaining. Is it a good film? Not really. Is it going to be the most successful film out of all the indie horror films that come out? Probably.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is so backward, which is why, you know, if I don't have any false hope about my films, you know, ever being that kind of successful, because I'll never make that kind of film. I'll never pander to an audience and try to make things that the audience will go, wow, you know, look at that kill, look at that head pop off, or look at all that gore, you know. It doesn't interest me. Stuff like that needs to be there if it's relevant and necessary to the story. Otherwise, I don't need it in my films. You know, I try to make a good film, not a good horror film, and not a good, you know, kills film or whatever else. I try to tell a story. We're supposed to be storytellers. Some films, when you watch them, you know, out of those that have had some success, you know, even within the indie, you know, landscape, not even, you know, as much as like Terrifier and anything like that. They've been successful. People know about them within the industry and all of that. But you watch them and you go, where's the filmmaking? Where's the movie? Where's the story? There's nothing there. It's just kills, kills, kills. It's the same story as this film, that film, and that film. You know, so many others. They're just making the same shit over and over and over and over and over and over again. Problem is, I can't fault them for it because the audience wants that.
Because they keep forking out the money to go see it.
And we were talking before we started recording about crowdfunding campaigns. If today you make a movie and you say, oh, I'm making a slasher film, you know, and it's a homage to Halloween or something else or whatever, people throw money at you. But if you say, oh, I'm doing something a little bit original, you know, it might have a little bit of this and that in it, but, you know, it's a different story and we're trying to make some quality.
Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
Yeah. What about the kills? How much gore is there? You know, and it's like, jeez. So because
we got asked that,
we do, yeah.
And it was like, no, this is actually going to be a scary movie. This isn't going to be a gory movie. You know, we actually want to scare people, not make them throw up in the aisles. So
because even like the Winnie the Pooh movie, that was an indie horror movie, and that got a certain amount of success.
You mean the first one, not the sequel you're talking about, right? When
the sequel, the
sequel is getting its own Fathom Events release.
Yeah.
Look, and usually, you know, I don't like to crap on specific films, but that Winnie the Pooh film, I mean, come on.
It was bad.
Seriously, how can people like that? The story was awful. It was regurgitated. It just, let's put some you know, beloved cartoon characters in there to pretend that this is something original. But the story's been done before many, many times. I watched that movie and I'm like, the story doesn't make sense. What the characters do doesn't make sense. I don't believe any of it, you know. And at the same time, I'm thinking, why are people loving this? And to me, I think I expect too much of an audience, perhaps. You know, I want the audience to want quality, and it frustrates me that they don't. But when I take when I sit back and kind of think about it, I go, well, I can't blame the people who make those films because they want to make some money and they figure, well, the audience will go for it, and they do. And Todd and I even discussed this in the past. It's like, maybe we should make crap because it'll have more success. And we kind of go, can you do that? And we both look at each other and go, no, I can't.
I'd rather
rather fail.
I would rather make a movie that I can look at and I'm proud of, and maybe it didn't make a lot of money, maybe it didn't get a lot of views, maybe a lot of people didn't see it, but at least I can go to sleep at night. And people will probably say, well, you're dumb. Then I'm dumb. I would rather have a good quality movie and be okay with it in my book and in my heart, and versus doing something that you look at and you go, fuck. Did I really fucking, did I just do that? Did I fucking do that? Did I just really just step off that fucking cliff into that rock pile below?
Well, I was at a theater, and they showed the previews to the Steamboat Willie, the Mickey Mouse movie, and it looked terrible, right? It looked absolutely terrible. But the audience was like, "Oh my goodness, wow, I got to see that," and I'm like, "Wow,
why?"
Okay. I'm like, okay, they're giving the audience what they want to see.
Absolutely. That's what Hollywood's done for however long now, until until something happened recently where the large majority maybe of an audience is starting to say, why would we be interested in seeing the same thing again? I think it's been like too many times over. So in some genres maybe, or some styles, people are starting to say, look, I'm tired. You're showing me the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I'm tired. That will happen in horror as well. People will eventually
It always
get
does.
tired.
It comes in waves. It comes in waves.
It's always a long wave, and it's a long wave of crap. To me, it's like the elevator scene from The Shining, but instead of blood, it's just shit.
Yeah.
It's a river of shit. That's what's happening in cinema. I gotta tell you, it's like.
Do you think? Because I agree when it comes to horror. Horror goes this, and it goes boom and explodes.
Yeah.
And then it takes another 5 to 6 years for it to go back up. Do you think we're at this phase now?
I think we're getting to it.
We're getting to it. I want to go just add to what Itai is talking about in regards to Terrifier. And I think for me, the reason that movie is doing what it's doing is because Art the Clown is something new. It's not Jigsaw. It's not Jason. It's not Freddy. It's not Michael Myers. It's not.
Is it? But isn't new?
But at the same, but it's new in the sense that we have not. There hasn't been a new. I mean, they've tried it with Megan and failed. They tried it with Abigail and just shit the fucking bed on that. I mean, they ruined the movie in the goddamn trailer. Mm-hmm. And so I think for a lot of people, because Art, I mean, come on, these guys are making a mint. Art the Clown had his own fucking animatronic at Spirit Halloween. Yes.
But we've had clowns before.
But not like this.
Well, we had better. We had Papa Corn, Circus of the Dead. It just didn't get out there as much as this one.
Yeah, it didn't get out there. But what I'm saying is, this is the one that got out. This is the one that everybody wanted to see. So, the killer also has, it's like when Chucky came out. Unfortunately with Chucky and Freddy, they made him a joke after, 2 or 3 sequels. But, you hadn't seen a killer doll like Chucky, and you hadn't seen a guy that comes into your nightmares like Freddy. So, and the thing about Art was originally he was based completely in reality, until the second one. And then they did all that weird Dream Warrior shit in the second one.
Until the end of the first one, maybe.
Well, yeah. When he pulled out the gun, that's what made me go, fuck, okay, come on, guys. And that's where you lost me on that. I don't like the Terrifier movies at all. I watched the first one because my buddy put some money into it, and he sent me. He put extra money in it to send me and sent me one of the Blu-rays that he got. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it. I stuck it in. Angie and I were watching it, and about halfway into it, she goes, "What in the fuck is this?" And I went, I don't know, Tim. It was Tim P. actually. It's I, and I don't know. Tim sent me this Blu-ray, and there was no note. There was nothing except. There was nothing except his address on the outside. That's how I knew where it came from. And I was like, what in the fuck? So, and that's not to rag on the people that like it. And then my daughter saw the second one, and then when it became available on VOD, we watched it. She made me watch it because I made the promise that I would watch it. And first of all, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Fuck, I was done at an hour and 20.
I think the third one is also long, isn't it?
The third one is long too. I saw it in the theaters, and I literally checked out halfway through, like brain shut down. And but you never ever want your audience to be in the theater or watching at home and constantly look at their phone like, holy shit.
How much fucking longer is this thing?
How much longer? I mean, how much longer for 2.5 hours? I do not want to watch people just get killed for 2.5 hours. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It's just 2.5. Listen, Hatchet. A lot of people say that the Hatchet movies actually did what Terrifier did before Terrifier did it. Over the top gore movies. But to me, those movies were a little more fun. Like these movies are so mean spirited. There's no story. There's no character development. It's just mean spirited for 2.5 hours long. I don't get it.
Yeah. No, I think if you're making a let's call it an entertainment directed horror film in indie these days, it needs to be no longer than an hour and a half.
I agree.
Yeah, if it's an hour and 45, I can forgive it, but anywhere when it's nudging 2 hours, I just think, oh fuck, why did we need all of this? We don't need it. It needs to be a quick in and out, let people enjoy it and whatever. But that's the to me, was part of the problem maybe with Terrifier 2. But
they didn't have anybody standing over the top of them telling them that they needed to cut it down. That's the difference between the indie part of it and being in a studio setup. And
but if you're indie, you're not Kubrick, and why are you trying to make a 2-hour film? It's like a 2-hour plus film.
Exactly.
You should know you're not Kubrick, and Terrifier is no Kubrick. So it's like, why? And again, I like the Terrifier films, but I like them for indie horror. Not beyond that. If they were Hollywood films, I wouldn't like them, because to me, budget means something. So for what they were made for, they did a pretty good job. I thought there was an error in judgment in the first one, making him kind of like supernatural or whatever at the end, and the whole gun thing. I thought, to me, kind of ruined it. It lacked story. But I enjoyed it for the most part. The second one, I thought they were trying to rip off Freddy Krueger.
Well, that's what the director said in an interview. That he said the second one was Dream Warriors, and
why?
So he said, well,
that would be my question. Why can't you write an original script? You have a successful character. You're already within a genre. Why do you need to go and grab a film that was made before and make an homage to it, or make something similar, or make my own Dream Warriors or whatever? Why? There's already a Dream Warriors. We don't need another one.
Right.
Give us something different. Give us something new. Art Clown is not Freddy Krueger.
And then he said that's why they based the third one more in reality, because he didn't want to make Freddy's dead. So they realized what they were stepping into with that second one.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen the third. I hope it's good because I do wish them all the success in the world. It's not
Well, they
my
just
cup of tea,
today
but
they
but
just
I'm rooting for them.
Joker. Their
Yeah.
ticket sales beat Joker.
It wasn't a bad movie. So I saw the third one. It wasn't a. Once again, I'm not a fan of the Terrifier series. It wasn't a bad movie, but for 2.5 hours
Too long.
of just some of the most gruesome kills, just back to back with absolutely no story, and the story, the series doesn't progress. Like the story doesn't progress. You know the same amount that you know going in, then you finish the movie. Like it doesn't build on the lore of Art the Clown or anything. It's just literally a 2.5 hour practical effect gore fest, which some people love. And guess what? I would love, like you say, if it was an hour, hour and a half, I would probably enjoyed it. 2.5 hours? No. I mentally checked out.
It's almost like when things like that happen, to me, it's like watching a 2.5 hour music video. It's like, check out these kills. It's like Dream Warriors, but for 2 hours and 2.5 hours. Like, why? Why do I need that? Why don't you give me something interesting? Give me a story, give me character development, and incorporate that into what you already have, which is a successful character that people want to see. Why not raise the bar? It just seems to lower it. For them, raising the bar, well, for them, I mean the audience, seems to be, give me good kills. And that's what I'm saying. I can't fault the filmmakers for giving the audience what they want. Damien Leone and the rest of the gang there, they made, very, very successful films. I can't fault them for it. And again, I also wish them the best of success. I could never make that because it's just not my kind of thing. I would never write a script like that. But the fact that other people do it, like I said, I can't blame them. I hope that the third one's a little different, or that there's some redeeming quality to it as far as, for me watching. But again, it's great for indie. It's great for indie that they are successful.
The second one is better than the third one. So well, I didn't like the second. I prefer the first. But I mean, I liked it, but I liked it less. And again, I like it as an indie horror. Kind of.
I like it as an indie horror. Budget wise and all the rest of it. That has to be factored in. But I lost my train of thought.
To answer your question, as far as giving filmmakers false hope, if they don't come up with something that is, not that Terrifier is original, it's not, but I think people locked into Art the Clown because he doesn't speak. It's kind of reminiscent of Michael Myers. But visually, that was one thing I always will say about Art the Clown is visually, I would not want to wake up and see that motherfucker standing 5 feet away from me. He is scary to look
at. That grocery bag with that fucking grocery bag on his back, like that's fucking terrifying.
Yeah. I mean that he is they did a good job on making this dude look. He's fucking terrifying to look at, hence the name, but that I think is one of the things that everybody locked in on was how scary that clown is. Clowns are fucking, a lot of clowns are scary, but that one visually is fucking frightening. So yeah, I think that's, you gotta have a niche for that if you want to really, and I'm in a group, I'm in a Film Hub group on Facebook, and Film Hub is the place that we use to get our movies on, Tubi and those places. And the amount of people in this group that you witness on a daily basis that are more worried about when the money's going to start coming in and all that stuff. And then you go and you look at the trailers for their projects, and you're just like, okay, you're not helping us. You're not helping the indie filmmaking industry. You know, it's like, you know, we didn't. They're just, people aren't spending the time to just even fucking edit sound correctly, you know. And I think that's some of the stuff that kills us. Sorry, I got really loud. I think, you know, they don't even take time to edit sound correctly. And I think if the indie community took more pride in their work, then that hope, or that what could be considered that false hope, it could be real hope in the fact that people would spend that time and watch your projects if they didn't look or sound like shit. You know, you can have a gorgeous movie, but if it sounds like shit, it's done. You know,
I think these days it's getting more and more difficult to get a film on the platforms like Tubi if the sound is shit. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, at least that helps kind of raise the bar a little bit technically. But again, you know, you were saying about how terrifying Art the Clown is, and like, to me, Papa Corn is more terrifying because he's more real. So, you know, Circus of the Dead, you know, shout out to Billy Pond and Bill Burst Jr. there. To me, that's an awesome film. Circus of the Dead, I've reviewed it before, and I loved it because it had that kind of feel, that the grit of like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is why I like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because of that grit. There was something so realistic about it that made you think about it. It's like, oh shit, this can happen somewhere in the US probably, but yeah, it can happen. And when I watch something like Terrifier, I'm like, it doesn't scare me because it can't happen. You know what I mean? Whereas in the first Terrifier, all the way up to the end, I was thinking, well, that can happen. You know, a psychotic killer clown walking around killing people for no real reason can happen.
Right.
And I enjoyed it. And then the ending kind of, So, yeah. And it was unnecessary. And again, who read that script and thought that was a good idea? I don't know. But
the people that gave them money in their crowdfunding.
But that's like the thing.
$60,000.
Yeah, but these days, if you're trying to kind of, you know, raise the bar and make quality, and you know what you're doing, it's that much harder to get money to do that. Because when it comes to crowdfunding, people will give money to lesser projects, to stuff where, oh, great kills and you know, and this and that. Oh, it's an homage to slasher films. It's this. That's where the money will go. But if you're trying to make something a little bit quality and a little bit else, you will struggle. And that's what makes it tougher these days. You know, it's like, if the audience doesn't want to help, what are you going to do? You go to investors now, and looking for potential investors. It's also difficult because they want to know if you're going to make the next Terrifier now. You know, but that also has a flip side, because you go, you know, it is indie, but have you seen what Terrifier just did? You know, this could be somewhere along that line, maybe not to the same level of success, but some. So it all depends on kind of how you spin it and who you talk to. But as far as the audience, as far as crowdfunding, it's just getting that much harder. And you kind of realize at some point that if you're trying to make quality, if you're trying to make something different, you're just not going to get your money there. You might get some of it, but, you know, I've seen films raise over 100,000, over 200, over 250,000. And those films are just carbon copies of other older films that have had success, and, you know, just making the same shit, and people just, that's what they want to see. But if you come out and you say, well, I have this movie that I'm making, it's about this, which is kind of new. Okay, it's a little bit inspired by something like that, but different story. Da 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 da. It's crickets.
But don't you think it's weird that people say, "Oh my goodness, I wish somebody would make something original. I'm tired of seeing Michael Myers or movies like that," and blah 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 blah.
Because talking is easy. Talking is easy. Pulling out your wallet and actually putting some money into it is not as easy. People talk, but they'll still, you give them two films, and you say this film, which has an original factor to it, is on Tubi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Terrifier is at the movies. You have to pay for it, and this is free. They still will not watch the free one and go and pay to see the one in the cinema.
Never,
but they want to.
That. I never.
Yeah, but they want to see originality.
But then, if they have to pay for yours, $1.99, isn't there someplace I can watch it for free?
Yeah.
I've had that. I mean, I'm just going to be a total fucking asshole about that because I've had people ask me that, and I'm like, look, you cheap bastard. You fucking spend, and I've made posts about this on Facebook. It's like you'll go out and you'll spend $5 or close to $10 now on a fucking cup of coffee from Starbucks. You'll go and pay money at a movie that nobody in the fucking movie knows who you are. Hollywood doesn't give a shit about you. They're going to take your money, but somebody that you won't give $20 or $15 to go,
or an hour and a half of your time,
or an hour and a half of your time.
Forget money. Tubi's free. It's like watch my film on Tubi. You might enjoy it. I might make a couple of bucks out of it. Nah, a couple of bucks.
You can't even get people that you know, Travis. People that you fucking know.
Friends, family, or as I say, friends, because friends don't support you. It's like if friends of mine have films or have businesses, any kind of business, that's where I'll go. That's where I'll send other people to. I'll tell them, go, I know the person there. Maybe they'll do you a good price on something, maybe not, but I'll try to help them because it doesn't cost me anything and because I want to help.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not investing money in their business, but I am, helping. But when you are